So in order to be a great manager, you have to have a vision of where you're headed and how you're going to navigate your vessel. You have to be ready for stormy weather. Again, like any ship, using the analogy of a trip, of a voyage, you have to be ready for there to be stormy weather and for there to be calm weather, and how to manage your team through the different cycles of a journey like that. It's what's called the 4 phases of a team. You have to be able to navigate your team through these 4 phases. The 4 phases of a team are as follows. First is forming. The second phase is storming. The third phase is norming, and the 4th phase is performing. So, you as a manager, executives likewise, team members, everyone wants to get to performing. However, most of us as managers, we don't want to go through the first 3 phases because we think if we just hire people real fast in the first phase of forming, then we'll just be able to get to performance real fast by telling everybody, hey, get to work. That's not how it works. All teams have to go through each one of the phases in order. Sometimes they go back and forth, and as you'll notice in a few minutes, most companies are stuck at storming. The 4 phases again are forming, storming, norming, and performing.
The first phase is forming. Now what this really means is, let's say you have 5 positions on your team. They all have to be filled. Each of them has to know what their job is on the team. We've all seen, say, sporting events where there's a role that's not filled. That maybe they have a player who's on the team and he's in that position, but he's not the right person. He's not there. Forming your team means you've selected the right people and they are in the right positions.
So wait, John, wait, hold on. Okay, so what are you saying? Should we always be hiring?
We should always be interviewing.
Okay, why?
Because the worst thing that can happen when you have a well-formed team is for just one member to go away.
All right.
When one member leaves,
okay,
the whole team goes back to forming.
This is why whenever you do lose somebody, it's so hard to find somebody.
That's
because
right.
Now you need somebody and you didn't get ready to interview.
And it's why if you have a well-formed team and one person leaves, why that one new person feels so out of sync.
That makes
because
sense.
Even regardless of how talented they are, it just takes time to go through these stages again. They have to form.
That's very good. I'm going to go back take my nap.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Don't forget, forming first.
The next phase of team development is storming. As you're forming the team that you heard John talk about earlier, you have to assume that people are going to, they're going to jock for position. They want to find their space. They're going to create conflict. There's going to be conflict of disagreements regarding personalities or the way we do things. People are going to start rubbing each other the wrong way. Some people are going to jockey for positions. However it looks like, okay? And we'll talk about more of the different dynamics of that. But that whole uncomfortableness that, well, wait a minute, we thought by hiring Jane, things were going to become better, and now we're having more conflict than ever. Wait, I thought by filling in that spot that Bob came in, they were going to make things better, and all of a sudden now you have conflict. That storming phase is the phase where managers avoid like the plague because they think that by just hiring people and putting them together and telling them, y'all get along, that somehow they're going to figure out how to get along, but they don't realize they have to get involved and create good conflict management. Help them create conversations. Help them to create alignment, communications, better understand each other. They can't just avoid the conflict and the difficultness just because there's tension in the room. No, they have to actually get involved with them and help them become a good, solid team so they can get to performing. This phase of storming is the most difficult, and it is the one that most companies get stuck at.
So, Maurice,
yes,
are you saying that conflict is good?
Conflict is real. Okay, it happens, and so managers, instead of shying away from it, like, oh no, I don't want to hear conflict.
You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
I don't want to know about conflict. They need to run to it, but first they have to understand how to resolve it,
right?
How to bring people together, so that conflict becomes problem solving, so that conflict becomes conflict management.
Right.
Okay, so That's why companies just can't get out of storming, because they don't know how to remove the tension from the air, and they can never get to performing.
So there's so many companies that are kind of stuck, and there's this kind of stinky feeling in the air. They're stuck in storming.
I don't have any statistics. We could pull some out, but I would venture to say that most companies are stuck in some level of storming. Tension everywhere, pink elephants in the room, unresolved conflict, managers not wanting to hear problems, employees not knowing how to talk to their managers about problems. There's silence, there's just unspoken conflict, and the tension of it just grows. And everybody tries to push and shove, and everybody wants that resolved. They just don't know how to, because they're stuck in storming.
This is a good thought.
It is good thought.
I'm going to go back and get some coffee.
Okay, great. Anyway, don't forget, storming is necessary, as managers will coach you and teach you how to go through the storming phase and bring your team so you don't lose team members, and you can create a better environment to get to norming and performing.
The next phase is then norming. What norming means is that everyone is now in the role and understands what they're doing and is doing it. All the storming that Maurice talked about a little bit ago, it can come down to simply this. Everybody's doing their own thing. You've been there, you've been in your role, you want to do it your way, you want to not align with everybody else, but what happens is everybody starts bumping into everybody else, frustrations happen, and this is what generates some of that storming at the beginning. When the manager steps in and helps that team norm, what the manager's doing is getting clarity for each individual person and for everybody as a team, what their role is and how, as a process, the work is going to get done, and everyone begins doing it.
But wait, John, what about, I want to be me. I want to have free expression. I don't want to be like everybody else. What do you do with that?
Well, it is okay in the context of a work process to express your individual talent, but at the end of the day, if it's my job to pass you the ball and your job to shoot the ball at a specific spot, then that's the way it's got to happen.
So basically, if I'm working a drive-through in a city called Denham Springs, or I'm working a drive-through in a city called Orlando, and we work for the same company, and the process by which you open up the drive-through, you manage the drive-through, it's supposed to be the same, then my creativity to want to not do it the same way is what's hurting this.
That's right.
Okay, so really my creativity needs to be while I'm doing the process.
That's right.
That's where my personality comes in.
Yes.
So
yes.
You encourage everybody to be themselves in the process.
Exactly.
Not despite the process.
Yep, exactly.
That's really hard for people like me. Okay?
I didn't want to bring it up.
The fourth phase, my absolute favorite, is, of course, everyone's favorite, performing. This phase is when you have begun to do the things that John mentioned in norming, when everybody's beginning to agree on the processes, they begin to practice them, and it begins to become a natural thing between them that, yes, we're going to operate this drive-through in this fashion. We're going to raise the standard in this retail environment like this. We are going to have meetings that are run this way. And whenever the team gets comfortable around norming together about any new idea, all of a sudden they realize, you know what? We're not fighting each other as much. You know what? We're not really pushing it against each other. We're simply creating new processes. We debate and argue the processes. We come to a decision. We execute on those processes, and then we all agree to do them the right way. And we have to train each other. We have to correct each other. But there's a team camaraderie that says, we made a decision, we've normed, and now we're going to answer the problems and resolve issues together as a team. By being able to get to this phase, teams begin to stop putting their elbows down and they start locking arms together. That's when you start seeing everybody begin to enjoy themselves a whole lot more because they're performing on a regular basis.
So Maurice, are you saying then that performing essentially represents the time when the team accomplishes more as a group than it could individually?
Yeah, they're not fighting each other.
Yeah.
All of a sudden a problem appears, and whereas before I didn't like you, Okay? I still don't like you. Okay? I don't know that I like to work with you, but I see the value that you bring to the table because we've gotten better at resolving the problems together.
Yeah.
So I now listen to you better because our coach, our manager, has mentored us on how to work through problems together. So instead of being locked arms at each other like this, okay, posture with me, we basically get side by side and we cross our arms and we look at the problem and say, how are we going to fix that, John? And this posture here is what allows for teams to show union.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can almost throw anything at this team, and they'll resolve it faster because you're now not my problem.
Yeah.
Whereas 6 months ago, I couldn't find a way to work with you. Now, even though you and I are totally different, he's a lot more different than I am. Now it becomes an issue of us being able to work together to resolve problems together, and that's exactly what managers want. Okay, and this is where leadership is created.
So I have one other problem.
Sure.
I'm here on camera with you, and my coffee is over there. So I'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah, but what about my coffee? You're always thinking about yourself.
So, to sum it up, the team formation happens in 4 phases. It forms, then it storms, then it norms, and then it performs.